relate transformations and congruence. So after this lesson, we want to be able to demonstrate the different types of rigid motion and use the definition of rigid motion to determine if translated figures are congruent. So first we need to discuss what a transformation is. And a transformation is just something that moves or changes a figure in some way to produce a new figure. Wherever we started, that's called the pre-image. It's the original figure in the transformation. And after we've done our transformation, we've produced what we call the image. In a pre-image, let's say you have a point A, and you're going to somehow transform point A to a different location. You're going to move it in some way. The point that is created is called A prime. So that's how we represent that we've moved something. It's the same point in a new position. If we were to move it again, it would become A double prime. Alright, so there are 4 kinds of transformations, but only 3 of them are what we would consider rigid motion, because a rigid motion is a transformation that preserves length, angle measure, and area. So all that means is we are just simply moving the image. Nothing is getting enlarged or reduced. We are simply putting it in a new location, and otherwise it's congruent. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a translation. Translation is also called a slide. And the rule for a translation states that if you have this point, x, y, then you can move it horizontally some distance, A, and you can move it vertically some distance, B. So it's a horizontal movement and vertical movement. So remember, all this is called is a slide, because we're just pushing our image. Alright, then we have a reflection, which is also known as a flip. And we can do a number of different kinds of reflections. The 3 we're going to focus on is across the x-axis. So when you flip something across the x-axis, then you are going to change your y sign. So whatever xy is, you're going to make the y value the opposite sign. If you want to flip across the y-axis, then you will make the x sign opposite. And if you want to flip across the line x equals y, then you will switch your x and y values. Okay, third, we have a rotation, which is like a turn, because we're rotating around some point. And when you rotate, there's a few different rules. If we rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise, then you're going to switch your x and y value and make the y value negative or positive. You're going to swap the sign. If you want to go 180 degrees around a point, you're going to make both the x and y values negative. And if you want to go 270 degrees counterclockwise, which is the same as 90 degrees clockwise, then you're going to swap the x and y values and negate the x value. So these are the rules for a translation, a reflection, and a rotation. Alright, example 1. Describe the transformation you see you can use to draw the pre-image onto the image. So in this case, our pre-image is going to be the blue, and our image is going to be the red. So this looks like we are taking our blue image and we're turning it. And point P seems to be the point that we're pivoting it around. So this is a rotation about point P. In the second example, we've got a couple of rotations. We've got the blue triangle moving to the green triangle, and this looks like a translation because all we're doing is sliding. And then the green triangle is being flipped over this line, which would be a reflection. So we're doing a translation first and then a reflection. Alright, so here are the practice problems. First we have a reflection across the y-axis, then we have a reflection across the x-axis, and in number 3 we have a rotation 180 degrees around the origin. You should have drawn these red figures. That should be what your answers are. And in these bottom 3, we've got a rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin, a translation where our x values stayed the same, but our y values moved back to, or down to, and then another translation where our x values moved 4 in the positive direction and our y values moved 1 in the positive direction. And then when we want to write a rule, we are simply looking at where we started and where we're going. So pick a point. I know that in my original image that T is my pre-image point and this T prime is my image point. And then I take a note at what is happening. This is the point -2, +2. -2, +2. And then when I move to my T prime point, it's the point +2, +2. So if you look back on the rules from the last page, the only thing that changed was my x value's sign. So that's why it's a reflection across the y-axis. Here we're just seeing a translation, a rotation of 180 degrees, a reflection across the x-axis, a rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin, and then a translation where x is moving 3 and y is moving down 7. So check those and let me know if you've got questions.